There are signals coming from space that we cannot explain. Not one, not two, dozens of them, scattered across decades of astronomical data, sitting in research papers and observatory logs and government files marked unexplained. Some of them have natural explanations that almost fit. Some of them have no explanation at all. And some of them are so strange, so structured, so unlike anything we have ever observed before, that the scientists who discovered them spent years checking their instruments before they were willing to publish. This is not a video about conspiracy theories. This is a video about real signals detected by real telescopes, studied by real scientists, that remain genuinely, officially, scientifically unexplained. And some of them should terrify you. Let us start with the most recent and perhaps the most extraordinary: fast radio bursts, FRBs. If you have not heard of these, you should have, because they are one of the most baffling phenomena in modern astronomy. A fast radio burst is exactly what it sounds like: a burst of radio energy, incredibly powerful, extraordinarily brief, lasting anywhere from a fraction of a millisecond to a few seconds at most. The first one was discovered in 2007 when astronomer Duncan Lorimer was going through archival data from the Parkes Radio Telescope in Australia. He found a signal so bright, so brief, so powerful that it had saturated the telescope's detectors. A pulse of radio energy lasting 5 milliseconds that had released as much energy in that 5 milliseconds as our sun releases in 3 days. In 5 milliseconds. The signal had come from outside our galaxy, from billions of light years away, and it had arrived and vanished before anyone even knew it was coming. Lorimer had no idea what caused it, neither did anyone else. For years, the fast radio burst sat as a single unexplained event. For years, some scientists even suggested it might be a telescope malfunction or a form of radio interference from human technology. And then more appeared, dozens, then hundreds, then thousands, as new, more sensitive telescopes came online and began scanning the sky systematically. Fast radio bursts are not rare anomalies. They are happening constantly. Somewhere in the universe, a fast radio burst is going off right now. Probably several. The sky is full of them, and we still do not know what causes them. We have leading hypotheses. Magnetars, incredibly dense and powerfully magnetized neutron stars, are the current favorite explanation. Colliding neutron stars, cosmic strings. All of these have been proposed. None of them have been definitively proven. But here is what makes fast radio bursts genuinely strange beyond just their power and their mystery. Some of them repeat. In 2016, astronomers discovered the first repeating fast radio burst, designated FRB 121102. It had been going off multiple times from the same location in space in a distant dwarf galaxy 3 billion light-years away. And then they found something extraordinary. The repetitions were not random. They followed a pattern. Bursts for a period of time, then silence, then bursts again. A cycle of approximately 157 days. Natural processes can be periodic. Orbiting objects create regular patterns. Rotating stars pulse at regular intervals. But a 157-day cycle of radio bursts, powerful enough to be detected across 3 billion light-years of space from a source we cannot identify in a pattern that has no clear natural explanation? That is unusual enough that several papers were published exploring whether the pattern could be artificial, whether something was producing these bursts deliberately, on a schedule. The mainstream scientific consensus remains that the explanation is natural. A magnetar, perhaps, whose geometry and rotation create a periodicity in the bursts it produces. But the mainstream scientific consensus also admits that we have not proven this, that FRB 121102 and its 157-day cycle remain officially unexplained. Now let us go back further to a signal that predates fast radio bursts by decades and remains, to this day, the single most compelling candidate for an extraterrestrial transmission ever detected. You already know about the WOW signal from our last video, but there is more to the story than most people realize. The WOW signal was detected on August 15, 1977 at 11:16 p.m. Eastern Time. It lasted exactly 72 seconds. It came from a region of sky in the constellation Sagittarius. And it was so strong, so far above the background noise of the universe, that on the scale the researchers were using to measure signal strength, it went off the chart at the number 6, and then the letter U. 6U. That is what was printed on the datasheet. And next to it, Jerry Amon wrote his famous word. But here is what most people do not know about the WOW signal. The frequency it was transmitted on was 1420.4056 megahertz. This is the frequency at which neutral hydrogen, the most common element in the universe, naturally emits and absorbs radio waves. It is a frequency that any radio-literate civilization anywhere in the universe would know about. It is, in a sense, the universal frequency, the one channel that any intelligence, anywhere, would know to broadcast on if they wanted to be heard. The international astronomical community has actually designated the 1420 megahertz frequency as a protected band. Radio telescopes are not supposed to broadcast on it because it is reserved for scientific observation. It is considered too important, too fundamental to interfere with. The WOW signal came in on exactly that frequency, to within the precision of the measurement instruments. Whatever sent the WOW signal either knew what frequency to use, or was made of hydrogen, which is not how radio transmitters work. 47 years of searching, which is not how. No repeat, no explanation, just a 72-second signal that remains the most anomalous thing ever detected by a radio telescope. Now let us talk about something even stranger, something that most people have never heard of because it predates the internet era and has been almost entirely forgotten. The UVB-76 signal, also known as the buzzer. Since at least 1976, a radio station transmitting on the frequency 4,625 kilohertz has been broadcasting a continuous monotone buzz. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, year after year, decade after decade. This is not a signal from space. It originates on Earth, almost certainly from somewhere in Russia. But what makes it extraordinary is this. Occasionally, very rarely, the buzzing stops, and a voice speaks. The voice reads out strings of numbers and words in Russian. Then the buzzing resumes. No one outside of whatever organization operates this station knows what the transmissions mean. They are almost certainly a military dead hand system, a way of communicating with submarines or agents in the field. But they have never been officially acknowledged. The messages have never been decoded publicly. The buzzer has been broadcasting for nearly 50 years. It is still broadcasting right now as you watch this video. A voice in the static, sending messages no one outside understands, to recipients no one can identify. We built something we do not fully understand, sending messages in a code we cannot read, to people we cannot find. And it has been running continuously for half a century. Now imagine something with far more time and far more resources doing the same thing, on a galactic scale, back to space. Because the strangeness does not stop with fast radio bursts and the WOW signal. In 2016, a team of researchers from the University of Laval in Canada published a paper that caused significant controversy in the astronomical community. They had analyzed data from 2.5 million stars observed by the Sloan Digital Sky Survey. And in 234 of those stars, they had found something unusual, a periodic signal, modulated in a specific way, a way that the researchers argued was consistent with what you would expect if an extraterrestrial civilization were attempting to communicate using a laser or optical beacon. The paper was peer-reviewed and published in a legitimate scientific journal. The authors were careful and measured in their claims. They explicitly said they were not claiming alien contact. They were saying that 234 stars out of 2.5 million showed a signal pattern that was unusual enough to warrant further investigation. Other astronomers pushed back. They argued that the signal could be caused by instrumental artifacts, by spectral features of the stars themselves, by errors in data analysis. The debate was never definitively resolved. The 234 stars sit in a database somewhere, flagged as unusual, waiting for someone with better instruments and more telescope time to look at them more carefully. 234 stars, potentially signaling, potentially waiting to be understood, potentially nothing at all. The uncertainty is the thing that stays with you. Let us talk about one more signal, the strangest one. The one that even the scientists who study it find difficult to discuss without using words like eerie and unsettling. Pulsars, rotating neutron stars that emit beams of radio waves from their magnetic poles. As they rotate, those beams sweep across space like cosmic lighthouses. And because they rotate with extraordinary regularity, they pulse with a precision that rivals atomic clocks. When pulsars were first discovered in 1967 by graduate student Jocelyn Bell Burnell at Cambridge University, the initial designation given to the first one was LGM-1, Little Green Men 1, to the first one because the signal was so regular, so precise, so unlike anything natural that the first instinct of the scientists who found it was that it had to be artificial, that nothing natural could pulse with that kind of clockwork regularity. They were wrong, as it turned out. Pulsars are natural. The physics of rotating neutron stars produces exactly this kind of precision. LGM-1 was renamed PSRB 1919+21, and the Little Green Men explanation was abandoned. But the instinct that produced that initial designation was not crazy. It was the instinct of trained scientists encountering something so regular, so structured, so unlike the expected messiness of natural phenomena that their first thought was intelligence. In a universe full of chaos and noise and randomness, pattern suggests purpose. Structure suggests mind. We live in a universe full of signals, radio waves washing over us from every direction, pulses and bursts and patterns arriving constantly from billions of light years away. The sky, if you could see radio waves, would be a riot of light and pattern and noise. In all of that noise, we are looking for something that does not fit, something too regular, too structured, too information-dense to be natural, something that says, in whatever language physics allows, that something else is out there. We may have already found it, several times, in signals that sit in our archives marked unexplained, waiting for someone to be brave enough to say what they might mean. Or all of it is natural, all of it is magnetars and neutron stars and instrumental artifacts and coincidence. And the universe is full of signals that look like messages, but are not. The silence is still the loudest thing up there, but the signals are getting stranger, and we are getting better at listening. Let us step back and think about what all of this means together. We have the wow signal, 72 seconds on the hydrogen frequency, never repeated, never explained. We have fast radio bursts, never repeated, impossibly powerful. Some repeating on schedules, no confirmed source. We have 234 stars with unusual optical patterns that could be communication beacons. We have a signal that has been broadcasting from Earth for 50 years in a code no one outside understands, proving that intelligent beings absolutely do create exactly this kind of mysterious, persistent, coded transmission. And we have pulsars, objects so regular and structured that the first scientists to find them thought they were artificial. What is the pattern here? The pattern is this. The universe is full of signals that look like they could be messages, that have properties we associate with intelligence, that do not fit neatly into our current understanding of natural phenomena. And every time we find one, we do the same thing. We look for a natural explanation. We find one that almost fits, and we move on. This is the right scientific approach. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. The default assumption when you find something strange should be that there is a natural explanation you have not yet found. Not that you have discovered alien intelligence, but there is a difference between appropriate scientific caution and motivated reasoning, between keeping an open mind and keeping a closed one. Some of the signals we have discussed tonight have been sitting in our databases for decades, studied, analyzed, debated, and still marked unexplained. At what point does unexplained become something we take more seriously? Think about it from another angle. If an alien civilization were trying to contact us, what would they do? They would probably not send a spacecraft. The distances are too vast. Even at the speed of light, a message from the nearest star takes over 4 years to arrive. From the nearest potentially inhabited world, perhaps hundreds or thousands of years. They would send signals, radio waves, optical pulses, something that travels at the speed of light across the universe. Optical pulses, something that costs relatively little energy to produce, but can be detected across enormous distances by anyone with the right technology. They would probably transmit on a frequency any technologically literate civilization would know about. Like the hydrogen frequency. They might transmit repeatedly over long periods of time, knowing that the recipients might take years or decades to notice and respond. They might transmit in patterns, periodic signals that stand out against the random noise of the universe, structures that say, this is not random, this was made. Now look at our list of unexplained signals again. The wow signal, hydrogen frequency, brief but extraordinarily powerful. Fast radio bursts, some repeating in patterns, some on schedules. 234 stars with modulated optical signals. We are not saying these are alien, we are saying that if an alien civilization were sending signals, these are almost exactly what those signals would look like. And we have been finding things that match this description for decades and filing them under unexplained and moving on. There is one more thing worth saying. We have been capable of detecting radio signals from space for less than 100 years. We have been systematically searching for extraterrestrial signals for less than 70. In cosmic terms, this is nothing. Less than nothing. A fraction of a blink. In that impossibly short time, we have already found multiple signals we cannot explain. What happens when we look for another 100 years? Another 1,000? When our instruments are 1,000 times more sensitive? When we can analyze not just radio waves, but every frequency of the electromagnetic spectrum simultaneously, from thousands of telescopes, processing the data with artificial intelligence systems we cannot yet imagine. The universe is talking. It has always been talking. The question is whether we are listening carefully enough and talking. Whether we are brave enough to take seriously what we hear. The signals are out there. Some of them may be natural phenomena we do not yet understand, and some of them may be something else entirely. We are listening. Next video, we go to the places in the universe so extreme that physics itself begins to break. The most violent, most terrifying locations in the known cosmos. Subscribe to Top Void Cast if you are not afraid of the dark.